So we go back to what we are learning, which is the spiritual discipline. You know, the Buddhists call it the octuple path, or different traditions call it by different names, but if you take it seriously, the spiritual path in every tradition follows the same guidelines. And I'm going to leave thoughts. I was going to start with thoughts, but that would be too intellectual, and I want to go a little bit before to the feelings part of the situation. When we start our day, you know, we start with the good morning day practice, which is a way of the first morning practices in all traditions, particularly the monastic traditions, are very, very important. You know, in the Catholic monasteries, for example, they have all these prayers they do when the sun rises. The Muslims also, they have the first prayers of the morning. And every particularly the contemplative orders, you know, the mystics of all traditions, or the mystic orders of all traditions, give a lot of importance to that, because it is very important that when your day starts, which is where everything is going to happen, and where your life is happening in any case, and the only place that in reality you can do something about yourself or about the people you love. So we start with the good morning day practice, which is also a way to put yourself in contact with your heart, because if you discipline yourself to, at those hours in the morning, direct all your thoughts to God, or do everything in front of God, and you keep switching your inner conversations to God, which means that if you find yourself in the shower speaking mentally with, you name it, try to tell the same thing to God. You know, whatever you were telling that person in your mind, which is an invented person, because you know it's just a projection you have in your mind of that person, not the real person. So, you know, instead of using that projection, what you are doing is only reaffirming your identity. The identity is always hankering to survive and to perpetuate itself. That is why fear perpetuates itself, anxiety perpetuates itself. That is why all the negative emotions perpetuate themselves, because they are energized by the mechanism of this little I, of these little thoughts. And when you are directing your conversation to any of the persons that you have in your mind, you are only, in fact, the only thing you are doing is trying to reaffirm yourself, your own identity, your own set of opinions, your own ideas, your own conception of what this life is, or what this life is all about. So that is the mechanism that is happening all the time. So if you direct those conversations to God, you will be able to look yourself in a clearer mirror, where instead of projecting your identity towards another identity, you are projecting your identity to God, which is a cleaner mirror than any other mirror. It's very normal that in these inner conversations you either are lying or manipulating, or trying to manipulate the other person, or trying to convince the other person of your own beliefs. You name it. You are doing all kind of things which are all a mechanism to reaffirm your own identity. So most of the times, if you find yourself speaking with directing your thoughts to this or that person, if you switch that and direct your thoughts to God, you will see that you have nothing to say to God, because you were either lying or trying to convince someone of your own beliefs or manipulating that person, and then you go to God, you try to tell him the same thing, and you have nothing to say. So another effect that speaking to God during the morning has is that you will have your mind quietened, because once your mind has nothing to say to God, then you can put your attention on the shower, on the sun entering through the window, on your breathing, on that you are here. You do your first meditation, and then the day starts. And there is one thing that will be there from the beginning of the day, which is your feelings. Now, one thing very important to take into consideration about feelings is that there is only in reality one feeling, which is love. That's the only pure feeling that exists. All emotions are the feeling of love going through the prism of the mind. The feeling is the way that we detect the energy of life. That is why it's a feeling, it's an energy, you feel it. You can feel, it's a feeling. And it's a feeling means that the feelings connect you with the energy that is moving this universe. There is an energy that is moving this universe from the beginning. Since this universe started, in the Big Bang, this energy is pushing everything. It's the same energy that pushed you to walk. It's the same energy that pushed you to speak when you were a little boy. It's the same energy that pushes you every morning to wake up. It's an energy that is there that is not under your control. It's the energy that moves each and every of the molecules that form your body. It's the energy that is moving all the molecules. And that energy that is moving this universe, if you perceive it in its pure state, you call it love. And if you perceive it in its pure state, there is a word in Sanskrit, you perceive Ananda, bliss. That's where the word Ananda comes from. Or the meaning, the original meaning of the word Ananda in Sanskrit. So love is really the feeling that you want to get attached to. And what you have to take into consideration is that every time you have a negative feeling, a negative emotion, anger, fear, any emotion that contracts your muscles, you will detect a positive emotion from a negative emotion if it's in how it reacts in your muscle. Everything that is negative contracts, is a contracting energy. Your stomach may contract, you may press your teeth, your hand may close, you might frown your face, so it's contracting energies. So every time you feel a negative emotion like anger, fear, or you name it, remember that what is happening there is that the energy of love that is there behind that fear that you are feeling is being tricked, as one could say, or contracted by a thought. So whenever you have a negative emotion, you have to look at the thought that is producing that negative emotion, because there is always a thought behind. You feel fear of, losing your work, and you are feeling the fear, and you are feeling that what's going to happen with me, and and you are getting all this fear. and you are feeling the fear, your stomach is contracting, you are closing your, well, what is happening there is that you are telling with your mind yourself a story about that you are losing your work, that once you lose your work, you are not going to find another work, that it's going to be terrible, that you will end in the streets. You know, you start creating that story in your mind and you start to believe those thoughts. Well, you have to dispute everything you think when you have negative emotions, and that's the part of the thoughts. There's a direct way to discard those thoughts, which is connect with the love that is behind those thoughts, and go back to the day you have to live. But it is very, very important that you realize that all negative emotions that is making you suffer, because negative emotions make you suffer, fear, anxiety, anger, all these contracting emotions make you suffer, are caused by thoughts that you believe to be true and that they are never true. For example, in the example that I just gave you, you know, I've dealt with many people that have come to me telling me about all these problems, that, you know, I might lose my work, it's going to be about me, I'm so anxious about it, da 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 da. And I always ask them the same question, and ask it to yourself. Since you were born, have you had a bed to sleep that was comfortable enough? The answer is yes. Since you were born, have you had food to eat every day that is nice enough? Yes. Since you were born, have you had clothes to wear? Yes. So why do you think it's going to stop suddenly? If it has never stopped, I mean, how can you imagine that it's going to stop suddenly? And if it stops suddenly and you have nothing to eat and nowhere to sleep, well, you are just about to die then. So don't worry too much. So, you know, one has to be able to discuss yourself, your own thoughts, your own beliefs. All the thoughts that you believe, every thought that you believe, and that you regard to be true, is not true in reality. Because truth has nothing to do with thought. Thoughts are things that happen in your mind that they make you think that they are real. But the only reality is this. This is the only reality. We have senses, and we perceive through the senses, and what we perceive is what? What we perceive is our previous impressions. We are not even perceiving the reality, the exact reality that is out there. Because what you are perceiving is your own memories. Imagine you had been born without senses. Blind, deaf, no taste, no smell, no touch. Imagine you were born, you know, a strange gene without senses, and that they had managed to keep that body alive. And I say that body alive because what would you know about your life? What would you know about your father? What would you know about anything? You see that? You would know nothing. So, what is it that you are knowing? Well, you are knowing that the body that was born started to receive impressions through the senses and collect those impressions and organize them. You have not organized them. Nature organizes that. and then the only thing that you are perceiving the world in reality you are perceiving is only your own memories, your own impressions that activate what you are perceiving with the senses, activate a memory of yours, and you say this is a tree, and you see a tree, and you have a concept of what is a tree. And in different times, people have different concepts, like there were times that the concept was that the earth was flat, and there were times that, maybe many years ago, there was the concept that, if you were born, imagine 250,000 years ago, your family 250,000 years ago, that maybe lived, who knows, in a place in Africa, and that you were competing with other animals or apes, you would have a concept of the world and of life, and it's your family, also different based on the previous impressions you have. So anything that you consider to be true is in reality just something that is happening, not a truth. It's only something that is happening. And when you have when in your mind happens in thoughts that are producing you a negative emotion, you have to either discard the thoughts as untrue, so not this, or connect directly with the love that in the first place is generating the emotion, because the emotion is the energy of life. And through feeling, you perceive the energy of life. The thing is that instead of perceiving the white light, you are perceiving that light turned into red as fear, for example, because the mind in the middle has, taken that energy and converted it into fear. So behind every fear, there is also love, in other words. So you can go and try and connect to the original love that generated the emotion. Now, how do we connect with love? How we keep ourselves together through the power of love? So to introduce this concept, I'm going to use a satsang of my guru, which I will put here, and I will, kind of interrupt it from time to time to add a little bit, an extra explanation, right? So, I think I have it here. I'm going to do it like this better.
HDMI 1.
You'll be surprised, I'm keeping myself together. Keep yourself together through the power of love.
No signal. Please check the power of the device and cable connection status, or press the input on your remote to change to another input.
And therefore the scriptures, all scriptures say, love thine as yourself.
Hello, Donna. Just a minute, that the video was in a place that it couldn't, so it's copying into the...
No.
HDMI 1.
You'd be surprised, I'm keeping myself together.
Okay. Sorry, I don't know what is happening.
Keep yourself together.
Let me see.
Reception, can we bring coffee? 'Cause I really want coffee.
No signal. Please check the power of the device and cable connection status, or press the input on your remote to change to another input.
You'll be surprised I'm keeping myself to...
Okay. Now.
HDMI 1.
You'll be surprised I'm keeping myself together. Dizzy. Keep yourself together through the power of love. And therefore the scriptures, all scriptures say, love thy neighbor as yourself. But I would add on to that, not only your neighbor. Here's my neighbor. That's my neighbor. This is my neighbor.
This is an important concept and something that by bringing your attention little by little to the moment, to the present moment, to the day that you are experiencing, you will realize that you are surrounded, that everything is your neighbor in reality. Because everything that surrounds you and the mechanisms through which you know everything that surrounds you have grown together. It's like the same dance. You have the sensation of being a separate entity. Everybody has the sensation to begin with to be a separate entity, but there is no separate entity. Everything interdepends. There is nothing that is separate. The impressions you received in your mind through which you know your environment and the environment that created those impressions have been moving together interdependently and have created, you are surrounded by, you are part of that dance. In other words, either you see God all around you or you see yourself reflected. So if you have conflicts with yourself, you will think that there are things wrong out there. But in reality, there is nothing wrong out there. We think there are wrong things out there. Human beings, we have been used to think about this is good, this is bad, this is good, this is bad. And if with that kind of understanding, which is what is good and what is bad, you never understand how things work. That is why scientific understanding is not based on what is good or what is bad. A scientist would never think that the lion is bad that kills the gazelles in the savannah. A scientist will study the balance between the gazelles, oh so nice and vegetarian, and the lions, so bad, killing gazelles. No, it studies how it works. A scientist cannot say an electron is bad and a proton is good, because you know the electron negative without mass and the proton is, you know, it has mass and it's positive, so proton is good, electron is bad. No, there is an interdependence between the proton and the electron. Nothing in this universe is good or bad. Things work according to laws, which you could call it the law of God or the natural laws.
Signal. Please check the power of the device and cable connection status, or press the input on your remote to change to another
My
input.
God.
HDMI 1.
You could call it the law of God, or you can call it the law of nature. But there is not a single molecule that moves because it wants to move its own way. It moves according to the laws that guide its movement. And it happens with every molecule inside your body and with every molecule outside your body. So this life, this experience we are having of existence, through that which is our consciousness or our awareness, you know, if you are able to look it beyond the conceptualizations of the little I, in other words, if you are able to love it, if you are able to see everything around you to be good, little by little you will end up seeing God all around you. And instead of having to do the exercise in the mornings of speaking to God, you will be in front of God all day. And that's the secret of life, because that is when you are loving everything that surrounds you. Not only your neighbor, the position, the colors of the leaves, the air that comes through the window, even the cold that I have today, you get to love it because you know it brings you an experience that you are able to enjoy, that you are able to accept fully. And that's the secret of life. To realize that love thy neighbor as thyself, because your neighbor is thyself, and everything around you is also thyself. You think you are separate, but you are not. Your experience of existence exists because everything around you exists. Because if everything around you didn't exist, where would you be? Where would you exist? You exist because everything around you exists, and everything around you exists because you exist.
Yes. So who is the doer? But I need to cognize, and that is why we have given this mind the thinking ability which separates you from an animal. And what should the mind be thinking? That everything in this world is good. Yeah. And when you recognize that everything is good, slowly the one O in good will be rubbed away. It will fade away, and there's only God. Yes. The problem is the mind. And when you can transcend it, go beyond it and watch it act, then there's another part of you that will tell you. This part of the heart will tell you, the mind is playing tricks. Let it have fun. Who cares? You become.
This attitude with the mind, i.e. giving more importance to the heart than to the mind, is the secret to connect directly with the love that created the negative emotion. And to put the emphasis in your heart, which is in what you feel, and take the emphasis out of the mind, out of the thoughts and the little ideas that we keep having, is what is the direct path, is the easier way to deal with your day. So the mind is there. It is there because you need it. It's a tool that you use, but you stop believing your mind. You start believing your heart. And you know, the mind is there, the mind is doing its analysis, but you become the observer of the mind. So you start not identifying yourself with the production of your mind, but you start becoming the observer of the productions of your mind, and you observe from the heart. So when Guru Raj says here, there is another part in you that will tell you, the mind is playing tricks, who cares? No, to put it back there. Going to get it.
The mind is playing tricks. Let it have fun. Who cares?
In other words, you have to don't care about what your mind tells you, and just always go back to your heart. That's the direct path. That's the Bhakti yoga. That's achieving union through love and devotion, and that is the most sweet and comfortable paths of the three paths. The path with thoughts, the path with actions, the path with feelings. We all have to do karma yoga, we all have to do jnana yoga, and because you need a little bit of jnana yoga. You cannot be pure bhakti. You could become, or you cannot be pure karma. So we all have a combination of these three, but bhakti yoga, of those three, bhakti yoga is the yoga that we could say it's quicker, it's more direct, and it's more sweet, and you only have to follow your heart and stop giving importance to your mind and observing your mind from the heart.
You become the observer, and then nothing can affect you. And what really observes is not you, but the real doer. He is also the observer.
We not only perceive ourselves as separate entities, but we perceive ourselves as the doers, as the ones that are in charge. That is also an illusion of the mind, because there is not a single molecule that you push personally, like there is some will in that eye that you think that is in charge, is unable to push any of your molecules. Your molecules move by themselves, all of them. Pascal, the philosopher, did put an example, and he said, imagine I had a box, and I had balls in the box, 27 balls. And I take that box and I agitate it. And he used to tell his disciples, Pascal, he said, if you would make a picture, if I would make a picture of those balls at any given moment, of those balls in the box, and if you had the mind of Pascal, he said, you would be able to predict where those balls are going to be the next moment. And Pascal here referred to that if you know the size of the ball, the weight of the ball, the speed, the spin, everything you need to know about it, physical movement, you will be able to say when it's going to be, when those balls are going to be the next moment, right or wrong? Do you understand that? Yes? Yes. And the next moment, if you continue having the mind of Pascal, and you know everything you need to know about every ball and the movement and everything that is, all the laws that rule that movement, you will be able to say where those balls are going to be in the following moment, and so on and so forth. So you can predict how those balls are going to behave. This was when mathematics was starting to predict how things behave. You understand this concept, right? Now, you are like a box. Instead of 27 balls, trillions and trillions of balls, and put those balls in atoms or molecules or in whatever size you want to put them. Entities, atoms. And imagine that here the mind of Pascal would be a little bit short, but imagine you have the mind of God. And you know everything you need to know about the physical characteristics of each of those balls and the laws, the chemical, physical laws that govern the movement of each of these trillion balls that box is composed. Right? You picture that? Then that mind will be able to say where those balls are going to be in the next moment. Right or wrong? Right. Now in the next moment I continue having the mind of God, and I can say where they are going to be in the next moment and in the next moment, and so on and so forth. So the question is, where is Gloria? Making decisions. About what? Is it not God? So that is an important concept also, that one has to realize that you are not, you think you are in charge, but in charge of what? You are not in charge of the movement of your heart, you are not in charge
No signal. Please check the power of the device and cable connection status, or press the
of
input on the
you
remote
know,
to
of all
change to another
the
input.
processes that are taking place in your body. You are not even in charge of your emotions. Your emotions happen. You are a Yankee supporter and the Yankees win and you get happy and you cannot avoid it. You are just responding automatically according to the laws that rule the movement in which you are. So if you become the observer of all this mind of God that knows where everything is gonna go, then you become one also with the real doer, because that is the real doer and that is the only thing that is happening.
HDMI 1.
I'm going to try to put this volume down of the TV. What I've got.
Volume 37, 36.
0.
So when you reach that area of being able to observe objectively, then the mind will not affect you.
Observing objectively is different to observing subjectively. When you observe a thought objectively, you don't regard it as your thought. You consider it a thought. So you don't assign your identity to your thought. You treat the thought as a thought because you are not the thought. You are not the emotion. In fact, you are not the body. You are that is becoming aware of what is happening. In last instance, the only one that is observing fully what is happening is the divine within you. Because the divine, is the same sun, like when the sun reflects in bubble of soap, that it looks like there is a sun in each bubble, but in reality it's only one sun reflected in many bubbles. There is only one sun, there is only one consciousness, and in fact there is only one mind. Although the bubble through which we perceive makes us believe that there is a sun and a bubble which is separate of the only thing that there is.
It will not affect you because you've become non-attached from the mind. You let the mind perform. Let the mind do whatever it wants to do. To hell with it. And when that is ingrained within you, you will be pouring out to that heart that is within you. The true master might analyze your mind, but his greater job is to open your heart. And when the heart is open, you become more and more receptive to everything around you, because the heart only sees and feels and acts in goodness, which is godliness. Ain't God good, huh? He sure is. So, when we stop thinking of ourselves as the doer, what happens is this, that we are surrendering to a higher force which is in us and all around us.
So we all start feeling separate. But when you realize, and you know, this has to be ingrained within you, you know, with these teachings, like with food, first you listen to them, second, you think about them, in other words, you digest them, you intellectualize them, you analyze them, you come to understanding, which is like taking food. Second, you digest it, and finally that food becomes part of your body. And finally, the teachings become part of your life, part of your behavior. When we, you know, digest and assume that I am not the doer, because we start feeling separate, and we start not only feeling separate, but we have the sensation that we are in charge, that we are the doers. If you realize that you are not the doer, what is happening is that you are surrendering. You are surrendering to the doer of all this. Come in, you can sit here, you don't need to stay out there. Anyhow. Where were I? Where was I? Exactly. So, that's the process. The process is that we, to begin with, we feel separate. Little by little, we start realizing that we are part of something else. So you stop feeling separate, it's a little bit, yet you start perceiving you are like kind the leaf of a tree. You still perceive yourself as a separate thing, i.e. the leaf, but you feel you know, part of something bigger, which is the tree. And in the last instance, you realize that in reality you are that very same tree.
But the easiest place to start from is that place in us. Because if you have some cognition and recognition of what is in you, you will automatically project it to everything outside you. That is how one starts. That's how one starts. Until you feel that there is nothing outside you. Everything is inside you. So this is the process that you start off with duality and you progress to qualified non-duality, and the last step is total non-duality. If everything is found to be within you, what can hurt you? Nothing can hurt you, because no one purposely would like to hurt themselves. Huh? Yes. And with this sense, one can find greater happiness and peace. Now there are three things which you must indulge in. Is sense, common sense, and nonsense. People think they don't even understand the word nonsense. We don't make sense of anything, and it's fun. The greatest humor in life is based on nonsense.
And this is an important teaching also of a very practical application, and it's very much a very loving technique, which is, in life, we have three senses that we have to indulge with. Sense, the sense of your life. No? The sense in Spanish, sentido, means the same thing as direction. I don't know in French what's the word in French for the direction, like sense. In Spain, sentido, which is sentido norte, is sentido means, the word also means direction. And sense is the direction you give to your life. We all have some direction. Once you are adult, you know you don't even need to think about the direction, because it's like a big ship that has already one direction, and you know it's normally not a moment to change direction. You know, directions are more for young people, but you know, you give a direction to your life. You know, I want to be a businessman, or I want to be a good doctor, or I want to be, you name it. You give a direction, have a big family, and that is the direction. Common sense is the practical sense of things. Common sense means in whatever direction you go, today, to go in that direction, you will have to do things. You will have to do this or do that. You know, if you are young, well, you will have to study your exams because you want to become a doctor, so you will have to apply for the university, and each day you will have to do something, you know, in that direction. You might want to be Nobel Prize in physics, but today the only thing you can do is register in the university. So common sense is the practical sense of things, the practicality of things, in whatever direction you go. And nonsense is the realizations that you are going nowhere, that this is nonsense, and then you have fun. Nonsense is also the ability of laugh of yourself and laugh about everything, because you know what is the sense of this song. If there is only one, what is the sense of me fighting for what and trying to get where, if I'm going to get end up in the little hole, you know, feeding the worms? So what's the sense of all this? It's a nonsense. And then you can see the joke of it all, and then you laugh. And it's very important to laugh. That's why in our organization we have the 3 L's, no? Live, love, and laugh. Live, love and laughter, you know. You need the three L's. You need to laugh, because it's important that you stop. You cannot take yourself seriously. You have to realize the nonsense that is in yourself, in that identity with which you are identified. And once you regard it as pure nonsense, then you start laughing. You start laughing of yourselves, and you start laughing of the situations that are generated around you, and you enjoy. You have a good time. So that's a very important practical teaching, which is, apply your common sense day to day in whatever sense or direction you have given your life, and then laugh. Realize that this is nonsense and that you can take it lightly and have fun doing it, whatever it is that you have to do.
And when you view it with common sense, you develop the real sense of what is nonsense. It's beautiful, beautiful. Yeah. So man should be a combination of all these three things: sense, common sense, and nonsense. And it's a greater art to be able to view nonsense with sense. You see the humor in it then. And you find life to be filled with fun. Because you now have developed the sense and the common sense to see the nonsense, and nonsense is humor. And you become humorous. Not tumorous, humorous. For who wants a tumor on the brain? I think I must start doing operations on all of you. Cut away those tumors. It's a pressure on the brain, unnecessary pressure. And that is why you find things going wrong or right, because of that pressure.
The illusion that something is going wrong or right is the pressure in the mind, which are those thoughts that are creating these contractions that have nothing to do with what is actual, with what is happening, with truth. So, it's very, very important to connect with the heart and give, put the emphasis there and regard thoughts as what they are, productions of your mind that most of the time are useless.
On the brain box. There's another way out. Instead of having a brain in the head, fill it with sawdust. Yes. Yeah. Then you won't be able to think all the rubbish you think about. Huh? Yes. But feel. Feel the joy, feel the beauty. Yes. And you will see with clear eyes all the beauty around you.
Welcome. Maybe you are more comfortable there?
Yeah, that's a good try.
Yeah. Good. Hello, Kalina.
Good morning. Thank you.
So, feel. We keep thinking about ourselves. We keep thinking about love. Feel. Instead of putting so much emphasis in thoughts, put emphasis in feelings. Just keep going to your feelings. Feel. Instead of thinking about the other, feel the other. It's easier, takes less energy, and you will see with clearer eyes also. So, in this society we have been very much trained to think about everything. Well, maybe it's time to feel, Maybe that is the part that the feminine can bring to this world. Feel. Because women are better with feelings than men. Are more brain, And yes, feel. Put your attention in your feelings. And regard your thoughts as what they are. How many original thoughts you have in one lifetime. Original means a thought never thought before. For example, the thought that Einstein had that the energy was related with mass and the speed of light. E equals mc squared is original. How many original thoughts have you had? Original. Never thought, never read before. No, most of the thoughts are just, regurgitated thoughts of others that you've read, and you've read these books. You could have read other books, or you could have been born in another time, in other times with other. And what is that? During one day, how many wise thoughts you have? How many thoughts that are not complaints or judgments, which that's not wise? How many thoughts you have every day that are not a mixture of complaints, inner conversations, judgments of the other, fears, thoughts that produce you fears or anxieties? How many wise thoughts you have a day? One? Some days none. So, why do we give so much importance to thoughts? Where do thoughts take you most of the time? Nowhere. Nowhere. The only thing that has taken you somewhere is when you have put your action in one direction, like to study a career, and then you put your attention in following with your actions one direction. But the normal thoughts that we have in our everyday life of a day, what do we do with thought? Feel. Try to get back to feeling. Bring your attention back to your feelings one and another time again. And just feel. Feel every moment. Feel the feeling of the room. Feel the other person. Put your attention in feeling him. You will know what they need immediately. They don't need to ask you. A mother feels what the baby needs and will give it to the baby without the baby saying anything. Because feeling gives you that direct knowledge, which is not thought, not analyzed. It's just the expression of love.
You wipe my eyes. I was telling someone, the two most sensitive parts of me is my feet, the soles of my feet, and my eyes. You know why my feet has become so sensitive? It is because of walking around the stupid world. And I can feel all the rubbish that's going on in this world. And that's why my feet are so sensitive. And why are my eyes so sensitive? Because I see all the rubbish on me, which should not be there. But it's helped me by feeling with the feet and seeing with the eyes. It has helped me to become more and more compassionate. And it has made me more and more kind. It has made me feel more. That if you have a headache, I feel your headache. If you have a toe ache, I feel it too. And if you have a bottom ache, there's another word for that. I feel that too. It's a bit cold, isn't it? Huh? So tonight we must remember to bring a blanket down. No, you need that, darling. No, you need it. Aren't you using that?
We're going to switch it. You take care of
Thank you. You see, I was feeling cold, and now you guys are trying to heat me up. Look at the contrast. And aren't birds beautiful? Nothing wrong with coldness. It is nature. And nothing wrong with heat. So you accept them equally, with equal eyes.
Now, this is another very important concept to apply in your daily life, which is you have to accept the opposites equally. Coldness and heat, critics and praise, success and failure. You have to take both of them equally, because if you fall in the trap of escaping from critics and hankering for praise, you are missing the point, because both things are necessary and both things are beautiful. As it's nature, coldness or hotness, both things are beautiful. You are able to appreciate the beauty of both things, and you need them both. You need failure and success, and you need critic and praise, and they come always, both. They come, the two of them come. So you have to develop this equanimity, like in the, I don't know if you've read this poem from Rudyard Kipling, If. Have you? You've never read that poem? I will read it afterwards to you, but it's a beautiful poem from Rudyard Kipling that basically speaks about this equanimity, that you accept both critics and praise and this and that, and that you become equanimous.
And when you can see things with equal eyes, you become one-pointed. And when one is one-pointed in any endeavor, life becomes more happy. Yes. So scatterbrains, gather yourself together. Every sentence I would speak is a poem in itself. And poetry is something that rolls up within you. It's not the mind at work, it is the heart at work, expressing itself spontaneously. And that is what we need. That's what we need. That spontaneity of life, where we just flow, and flow very gracefully. And when you flow through life gracefully, you attract more and more grace to yourself. That's your 90%. Do you understand? Your 10% is just to be gracious. And the 90% of grace just dawns onto you. It does not wait to come in by the door. No. It's always waiting at the door. And your 10% is in opening the door to let it in. If the room is stuffy, what do you have to do? You just have to open the window, and the air, fresh air, will come in by itself. You don't need to go and call it. Like another analogy I've used somewhere, I don't know where. You don't need to go and chase butterflies all over the field. Make your garden beautiful, and the butterflies will automatically come.
Which means that the spiritual practices, the discipline you apply in your life, the good morning day, the Chatak meditation in the morning, the discipline that you apply with your actions, the discipline that we are going to learn to apply with our thoughts, and and this attitude to connect with your feelings and to start, being equanimous, that is like watering the plant. You don't make the plant grow. That's your part, that's 10%. That's your 10%. And then love happens. Because love is a happening. You cannot force love upon you. But you can prepare the garden so you cannot call butterflies into your garden. You can shout them, come butterflies, they will never come. But you can put flowers in your garden and butterflies come by themselves. And in the same way, you cannot make a plant grow, but your part is watering the plant and the plant grows by itself. So we have to do our part, and our part is not difficult. It's in reality very simple. It's just applying a little discipline. That at the beginning you have to oblige yourself a little bit, but then it becomes an habit and you just flow in that discipline. And then, things happen by themselves. Because everything in any case is happening by itself. You are not the doer, I am not the doer, all this is happening. And we are just witnesses of what is happening.
Yes. Yeah. And that is how life is lived. That is how the beauty of life is received. Then you say, in gratitude, in thanksgiving, that Lord, you have been so merciful to me.
So, that's it. We are going to have 10 minutes to go to the toilet, so 15 minutes, and we continue with the chant meditation. Right?
One question about the feelings. So we feel, but what if someone hurt our feelings?
No, nobody can hurt your feelings. you allow your feelings to be hurt. You hurt your feelings with your thoughts. Who can hurt your feelings? You couldn't hurt my feelings, whatever you did.
With words, with action.
Yeah, well, with words you can say, tell me something. See if you can hurt me. You hurt me if I allow it to happen. You hurt me if I believe what you are saying. But if you learn not to believe in your own thoughts, once you don't believe your own thoughts, any other thought you listen, you don't believe yours, let alone other people's thoughts. So whatever they can say, well, it's what they think, but doesn't affect you. So that's why one has to learn to be the observer of its own thoughts and learn not to be affected by your own thoughts, which is basically stop believing what you think. Because we keep believing that what we think is real, but what we think are thoughts. That has nothing to do with reality. It's easier to find out reality by feeling reality. With thoughts, well, you can go to a university and study physics, and you will, advance quite a lot in understanding reality, the physical reality, but that's as much as thought can get you to these kind of things. The most subtle would be studying physics. The rest is just production of the mind with no real substance. And what do you do with things that have no substance? Once you eat something, once you take in all the substance of the food, where it goes? Exactly to the toilet. What has no substance goes to the toilet, and that is that's the basis of nobody can hurt you. Nobody can hurt you because who would want to hurt himself? Let me put you. Let's see if I can. I'll put you one. Oof. Now, about that thing about someone hurting someone, I like very much this here. I don't know why it goes so slowly.
My right hand has written all the poems that I composed. My left hand has not written any poem, but my right hand does not think that you left hand you are good for nothing. My right hand does not have the complex of superiority at all. That is why it is very happy. And my left hand does not have any complex at all, including a complex of inferiority. So in my two hands there is a kind of wisdom called wisdom of non-discrimination. And when one day I remember I was driving a nail and my right hand was not very firm. Instead of pounding on the nail, it pounded on the finger. It put the hammer down and it took care of the right and left hand in a very tender way, as if it takes care of itself. And it does not say, you left hand, you know that the right hand has taken good care of you and you have to remember that you have to pay back sometime in the future. There's no such a thinking. And my left hand does not say like this, the right hand has done me a lot of harm. Give me that hammer. I want justice. Because the two hands know that they are together, they are in each other's.
Well, if everything is one, what left hand is going to hurt you, Galina? So, I need to go to the toilet myself. Anyhow, 10 minutes and 11:45 we start the chant, the meditation. I need to go to the toilet.
Buongiorno.
Buongiorno.
Nice to see you. How's Lisa? Huh? Lisa? Is your name?
By taking importance to the little thoughts of the mind, you put attention in feeling, and you shower, dress, clean yourself in the presence of God, and any conversation your mind is producing, you talk to God. You just tell it to God. So by the time you sit down to do your pratak meditation, you can very easily, in 3 or 4 sentences, make a prayer with whatever is inside you, whatever is concerning you, and you make that prayer to God. You just sit down, close your eyes, and you do the prayer in the following way. Speaking mentally, very slowly, and listening to the sound of your voice inside your head while you are speaking mentally, and feeling what you feel when you listen your voice say what it says. And in 3-4 sentences, without starting to speak to God non-stop, you have to take in consideration that God has to listen a lot of people and time is limited. So you have to be specific. This is a little joke, but it will help you become specific, and you really don't want to get carried away by your thoughts. So you just try, to very sincerely and honestly, in 3 or 4 sentences, tell God what worries you, what is there that is affecting you, what is there that is worrying you. And you tell this to God in your own words, in 3-4 sentences, doing them in that way that I tell you, speaking mentally, speaking slowly, listening to the sound of your voice, feeling what you feel when you say what you say. And you add 2 things. One, you add an acknowledgement of your responsibility, which means that you acknowledge that you are responsible of whatever is worrying you, which means that only you made every decision that had to be made, to reach where you are, so you are responsible, it's your own creation. And responsible also means that you have the ability to respond to that situation. So you acknowledge your responsibility in the 2 meanings. It is your own creation, the situation is your own creation, and you have the ability to face it. And as it is a prayer, prayers, people ask things. Ask for what you think you may need to take care of that situation that is worrying you. And as in the Bible says, ask and they will give you. Well, exactly, so ask. And you will see, you don't ask for material things. You are speaking with God. You ask for whatever you think you need to face the situation. And then just as you finish this prayer, you do your pranayamas, and then the tratak practice, and you finish again with pranayamas. Right? Understood, Gloria?
Yeah.
Right. Also, you can add, these are add-ons. So prayers, you can add it or not add it.
See you next time. You don't have to crawl.
One day you can do it, other days not. The important thing is that every day you do the pranayamas and the tratak, because that has an effect by itself. But when times are troubling, prayer is very helpful. And another thing you can do at the end of the meditation is include a positive affirmation. And a positive affirmation is made in the following way, with the verb to be and in the present tense. So it is like the negative affirmation when you say, oh, I am a disaster. You say, you know how to say you are a disaster. Well, you in the present tense and with the verb to be. I am at peace, I am strong, I am. So it's qualities of being. So, I am, and whatever it is, let us say at peace, because everybody wants to be at peace. I am at peace, and then you add to this sentence, to this affirmation, you add how you use this peace in the present tense, and you relate that peace that you are affirming with your feeling. So, for example, I am putting an example. I am at peace, and with this peace, I am feeling I respond to my circumstances. So this would be an example, no? I am at peace, and with this peace I am feeling, I respond to my circumstances. Now, you say the affirmation like the prayer, mentally, very slowly, listening to the sound of your voice when you speak mentally, and feeling what you feel. When you listen to your voice, say what it says. So you say mentally, I am at peace, and when you say I am at peace, you are listening your voice and you are feeling what you feel, which will be peace, because it's after meditation, so you will be feeling that peace already. And you will say, I am at peace, and with this peace I am feeling, and you will be feeling that peace, and you will be listening the sound of your voice inside your head saying that, I respond to my circumstances, or or if you are doing that prayer, because that prayer you have a court case and you have to be a witness, and with this peace I respond to the attorneys in the courthouse today, and you simply affirm that to yourself. What will happen in this practical example that I am putting is that when that day, and you repeat the affirmation 3 times, not once, 3 times, very slowly, leaving a bit of silence between each of the times. And what will happen that day, you go to the court case, and when you are sitting there in the witness chair, and the prosecutor starts to ask you things, immediately your memory will recover that affirmation, and the peace you felt is stuck with the memory, and will come, the peace you were feeling during the meditation will come back to you at that very moment through the remembrance that will happen automatically, and that peace will come, and you will be able, in a very spontaneous and natural way, to respond with peace. This works, you just need to master it. You just need to try, do it every day till you master it. It's easy to master it. It just takes a few weeks to master these techniques. You don't need to be all your lifetime.
I have a question. Is some of this online on your website?
Some of this information, yeah, I'm going to send you a link. Do I have your email?
Yes, because you did email me a few times.
Right. So I will send you a link to because I have it but in Spanish.
Oh,
But we are translating it.
okay.
And there are many videos of me speaking in English. So I'm going to send you a link to a place where I'm going to put everything
In English.
in English, which is not yet with everything. It has something.
Okay, but you're going to keep adding to that.
And I will keep adding, exactly, as they get translated. So, we understood this well? So that's the first practice in the morning. And in the evening, when you arrive...
Wait. I'm sorry. G, what, D?
Eh?
After the word night, what's
Yeah.
below it? G?
Good morning day.
Oh,
This is a practice that I cannot explain now in detail.
that's okay. I
But-
just understand.
but
What's
that's-
tratak?
Tratak
That
is
okay?
a technique
That's
that
okay?
you do with a candle. A candle. What you can do is come one weekend and you learn the whole
No worries. no
meditation
worries. I
techniques and everything.
Just writing down and then I'll absorb. I don't want
Right.
to keep you. And what's the T after LDLA? Come here, right there. Right
Yeah,
there.
look
That's D?
candle,
Is that a D?
look candle, and look after image. This is part of the Tratak technique.
Yes, okay. What is that a D in front of LD? S, okay, S.
No, this is
Okay.
just cycles of this. You know, one cycle, two
Oh,
cycles.
continuous, okay.
Eh?
Look at the candle and look at the what?
Look at the after image. Look at the candle, look after the after image, and you do 2-3 cycles. 2, 3, or 4 cycles of looking candle, looking after image.
Image.
After image, that
What did you
is
see
your
after
resin-
staring at the resonation?
After staring at a candle, exactly. So,
Okay, thank you.
correct? No,
Yeah,
okay.
yes,
So
yes.
then the day starts, and the meditation you do at the end of the day is with the mantra. So you kind of put a meditation at the beginning of the day and a meditation at the end of the day. The meditation at the end of the day, you don't do it just before going to bed. But when you give your day for finished, you know, it could be before dinner, for example, if that is your case. If you have a work, the best moment is when you arrive from work. You arrive from work and you have, the mind has the inertia of being all day in work, and the first thing you do, you arrive home and you do your second meditation. In any case, you don't do it just before going to sleep, but
Would an hour
when...
be okay? An hour, okay? If I did it an hour before going to sleep.
An hour before going to sleep? Yeah, at least an hour. Ideally before dinner.
Okay, you can't always do that. I can't always do that, but I can do an hour before. going
An
to
hour
sleep.
before, right.
And may I ask why you can't do it at bedtime?
Hmm?
Why cannot?
Meditation could raise your energy, and then you kind of don't want to go to sleep. You want to...
Yes,
So-
I can see that, okay.
So meditation, you know, you want to do it at least not just before going to sleep, although if you would do it It's not that it's going to be a problem, but it is better. It's advisable to do it like an hour before going to bed, for example. Ideally, always that you can before dinner.
When I did the meditation just now, I felt like I could actually get into bed and fall asleep.
Yes, during the meditation. But then after the meditation, that deep relaxation that has come about brings energy up, rises your energy. That is...
still gonna sleep, okay.
Anyhow, well, what will happen to you is that any person that is not a regular meditator, the first 2 to 3 weeks, you will feel sleepy. During the meditation and probably during the day also. It will disappear after 15, 21 days more or less. It has to do with the amount of melatonin that secretes with the meditation. And it has to do because meditation, the first thing that works, you know, that reorganizes in your body is the sleeping cycles. And normally people have lack of good sleep. So when you start meditating, you have this sleepiness that could be with you all day. It's normal, it will disappear, you know, and your sleeping times, you will sleep during the night more deeply, and after 15, 20 days, you will not get asleep during meditations at all, you know, and you will have a better rhythm of sleep-waking state. So it's normal what happens to you, but you know it's normal when you begin because of the changes that are produced in the body.
And what happens 2-3 weeks? It gives you, let's write the patterns of the body, and some toxins get released.
Yeah, exactly, and you know the system gets balanced back. You know, it's a natural balancing system. In fact, science has studied
it's scientific, exactly.
So here in the night you do the mantra meditation that you can do it in two ways. One way, sitting down, and you do it like the Tratak. Pranayamas, 6 pranayamas to begin with, mantra meditation, and you finish with 6 pranayamas. Like in the Tratak, you could have a prayer, or an act of thanks, or you can add, or an affirmation at the end of the meditation. So you can add the same add-ons here than here. The essence is pranayama 468. You finish your pranayama, you introduce mentally the repetition of the mantra, and you take your attention to the sound of your voice repeating the mantra, and you just let go there. And you just let go of every thought because you are only interested in how your voice keeps changing, and you get yourself going to those deep layers of the mind. That's another thing that looks like a dream because information there is very symbolic. So it looks like a dream, but in reality you are not dreaming because you are perfectly conscious of all the production of the mind. And you are conscious of the vibration of the mantra. So you get into that state. As you have done this at the end of the day, all the inertia that the mind has taken from the day and from all the activity, you break all that inertia, you come out of the meditation very relaxed, very refreshed, and that's why ideally after that you have a nice dinner because you know you will appreciate food better, so that's why advisable before dinner.
You digest better too.
And you will digest better, and you know, and you consider that the rest of the day it's like the end of the life of the person that woke up this morning. she is not, this person that woke up this morning will never wake up again. Which means that tomorrow you are not going to wake up with the mind that woke up when you were 20. That one never woke up again. So this one is never going to wake up again. In fact, tomorrow this is going to be a little bit different, although you don't appreciate it from one day to another. So in other words, this is retirement time. It's like when you retire, that's it, you've done as much as you can for today, and after your second meditation, you can smoke a cigar if you want. It means, you know, that's it, you know. You are not going to put more effort. That's your time, retirement time. You do as a retired, you know, vacation time. Go and watch the TV, exactly, or see a nice film, do something that you like, treat yourself. In other words, at that part of the end of the day to prepare yourself to go to bed. So these are the two meditations, the morning meditation and the evening meditation.
Okay. Now what about chanting?
Chanting. Chanting, it's a very, very good practice every time you are uncomfortable with yourself. Say you are in a situation of anxiety or a panic attack, or you are angry with something and you cannot take the anger of your mind, or you are confused and you don't bear yourself. These days that you don't bear yourself, it's understood what I say? When you don't bear,
you can't bear yourself. Yes,
you can't bear yourself.
It, yes,
so
okay.
these days that you can't bear yourself,
you can't stand yourself.
You can't stand yourself, exactly.
Gotcha.
So in those moments, you just where did I leave it? I have it here. You just take a mala, you sit down, and it's a matter of rounds. An extreme panic attack, you might need 7 or 8 rounds, but you know, you do one round. Between round and round, you stop, you feel yourself, you need a little bit more, you do another round. Ideally, 3 rounds is the moment that you start getting a good effect. So 3 rounds is very advisable, minimum, but it's a matter of rounds. If you do, I always say this, if you do, and you can try it, if you do 21 rounds, ever,
Unlikely.
and you finish the 21th round, and I go at that moment, I ask you, what is your name? You cannot answer directly, you have to think about it. You have to go, what is my name? What was my name? You have to go back. It leaves the mind absolutely like, you know, like the sea when it's absolutely flat, you know, with no movement at all.
So the round is 108 repetitions.
108 repetitions.
Each mala is a round. Each
mala is a round. And so you do the chant in those moments that you need, you know. You can also do it substituting the pranayamas. One day you are, you know, a little bit anxious, and instead of doing 6 pranayamas, you do 1 round. Because you are doing a pranayama, doing this, you are breathing in and breathing out slowly, breathing in and breathing out slowly. And it will calm your mind and will allow you to get deep into meditation. In other words, use it as you may think fit, you know.
Can you chant just in your head?
It doesn't make the same effect. The real effect is when you are doing the exercise, articulating.
Using the muscles.
Yeah, because you are using the muscles, you are separating verbal thought from the movement of the muscles.
It's a physical.
So the thoughts stay here while your concentration in moving these muscles is here. Yeah. So it's like a release valve, and then thoughts go, because as you are busy repeating, thoughts go and keep going. So all the pressure that the thoughts were creating is dissipating. And it's a matter of rounds. After 12 rounds, you have dissipated all energy, and Once there is no energy, there is no movement in the mind.
Why I ask that is in the middle of the night when I can't sleep, I start to chant.
Yeah,
But there's
well-
people above and people below. So if I can hear them, you know, like I'm chanting
Well,
at 2 in the morning. So that's why I asked them.
no. Well,
Can I do it in my head?
if you wake up in the night, you can do a technique which is, there are several techniques to sleep, but it would be long for me to explain
No,
them.
no,
to you
yeah.
now.
That's what. It's cool. We're cool with that. Yeah.
Yeah, but
Right,
I
just
can
brought that
give
up
you
because of
techniques
that,
for
yeah.
that. I can give you
Yeah.
techniques for that. But anyway, if you, in the case you are sleeping, you can use it by repeating it mentally, you know. So another use that you can use it is to do a hard-boiled egg or a soft-boiled egg. A hard-boiled egg is 3 rounds. A soft-boiled egg is 1 round.
And that's 100 and what are you talking
You
about?
put
the
the egg,
timing, the
you put
timing
the
of
egg
the boiling.
into the boiler.
Oh.
1 round, soft-boiled, soft-boiled egg. 3 rounds, hard-boiled egg. No, I was just.
Let's not complicate things. Okay.
It's good to know. It never hurts us.
Well, I was just joking, but this is a real story.
Huh?
There was this Chela of Guru Raj, and one day Guru Raj was at her home, and he listens in the kitchen. Aim rim krim chamdai vichache, aim rim krim chamdai vichachan. Guru Raj thought, look, they start the morning doing the chant. And he went to the kitchen and he showed the woman doing aim rim krim chamdai vichache and doing other things. Aim rim, what are you doing? He said, I know that 1 round is soft boiled as I like them. So it's based on a real story, but I did tell it as a joke.
Because I poach eggs, so I'll try that and see, get it to the right consistency.
Whatever works.
Okay, so these are the 2 techniques. And mantra, you can do it sitting down, you can do it, you could put the chant, 1 round chant instead of the first pranayamas, for example, and then you would finish with pranayamas. And then another way you can do it, and if you are not used to meditate regularly, is good that you start like this to begin with, is lying down. You lie down in the position savasana, like the savasana position of yoga, hands upright. So in this position you lie down in a comfortable place, ideally not your bed, but if you don't have any other comfortable place in your bed, but ideally not your bed, so for example if you have a guest room, in your guest room, or if you have a proper yoga mat that is comfortable in a yoga mat with a little bit on your head, you know, depending
Support,
on
On
yeah,
the carpet, lie
your
down on
head.
the carpet with lie down on the carpet with a cushion.
It has to be lying in a way that that you are comfortable.
You have a thick carpet.
You have a thick carpet, for example, a thick carpet, maybe you put a little sheet or something that makes it even more comfortable. We have, for example, this thing that we use for Yoga Nidra, that I think that now they will bring it here because they are going to use it for the singing bowls. You know, these latex, like
Like a
mattress topper, like a mattress topper of latex.
I have a
You
yoga,
buy
I
them.
have a yoga mat. I'll just use them.
You buy them in Amazon for $40, and they are very good because they are latex. So you put yourself in it, and it adapts to
Your form.
your form.
What is
So,
it called?
it's a mattress topper. You will see, like, it's the typical thing that you put on top of your mattress to make the mattress more adaptable to your form. It's a latex thing. You see it.
Latex.
Latex. Yeah. Natural latex.
And it's
yeah.
called a mattress what? Mattress?
Topper.
Mattress topper.
TOPPER.
Yeah. If I don't remember but if you look
Do you
it in
have-
Amazon,
You don't have them on the beds now.
no, they are. We use them
I see.
for the techniques that people lie down, like yoga nidra and all these things,
Okay.
and they are very comfortable to lie down. Comfortability is important because if you are uncomfortable, you cannot meditate. You know, if something is hurting your, you have a pain here or a pain there, you know, if you are not in a comfortable position, the uncomfortability will not allow you to meditate.
But you're saying you could use it to go to sleep with on top of your mattress.
No. That you can do this technique lying down. That
But-
preferably not in your bed.
No, I'm not. I'm saying when you're finished with all this and you want to go to sleep at some point,
Yeah.
can you use that mattress topper for your mattress?
For
In
your bed? Yeah,
Yes, that's
yeah.
what I'm saying.
Yeah. Well, in fact, it is made for
that
beds.
purpose. Okay, that's
For
what-
that purpose, but I use them for this other. But the original
Okay.
purpose of those things is to put in a bed to make it more comfortable.
Okay. It's called a
So
mattress topper.
you lie down in this comfortable place that you have selected, and you rise a little bit your hands and a little bit both legs. You know, so you are lying down. Imagine you are lying down like this.
You raise
So
your
you
legs
raise
a little
a little bit your hands and you tense them, both hands and the legs. So you rise, tense, and drop. So you
Okay. How many times do you do
get
that?
air, you breathe in, rise a little bit, hands and legs, tense, and drop. And you do that between 3 to 6 times.
So you hold for 10?
No, you just hold what you seem fit. You just breathe in, rise legs and hands, and tense them, and you keep there, you know, a little bit, and then without getting red, you know, and then you drop the tension. When you drop the tension, you wait that your breathing gets back to its natural rhythm, and once you feel that your breathing is already is back in normal, you rise again, you tense, breathing with the air in, and you keep there a little bit.
That's a very good core exercise.
Yeah, well, this is a typical relaxation exercise
Yeah,
that
same
many
muscle relaxation.
psychologists
Yeah.
could teach. You know, it's a very typical. So instead of pranayamas, you do this tense, this tense, tense, this tense, 3 to 6 times, which means, you know, if you feel you need 6 times that day, you do it 6 times, but at least 3. And then once you finish, you are there, you put your attention in your breathing, in how the air, in the touch of the air with your nostrils, when it gets in, and when it gets out through your nostrils, and then you let that your attention is kept there a few seconds, 10-15 seconds in your breathing, and once you have been there doing nothing, lying down, you introduce mentally the repetition of the mantra, and you bring the attention to listening the sound of the mantra, and you let go by the sound of your voice repeating the mantra. And that is, and when you finish, that's it, you finish, you lie, you don't have to do anything more. You finish, and so it is good, you know, the first 2-3 weeks, 4 weeks, start, if you are not used to meditate, do it lying down. It will be easier, it's at the end of the day, it will be quite relaxing, and it will facilitate you at the beginning the use of the mantra. And if you get asleep, don't worry, no problem. You will have a deep sleep, it will be very restoring sleep, and it's normal that it happens to you the first days, the first weeks, the first 2-3 weeks.
So you could do this before you go to sleep.
You could do this, you could do that before you go to sleep. You know, the days that you are going to meditate an hour before going to sleep, you can do it lying down always. The first 3 weeks, do it lying down. And then you can start. But if one day you cannot lie down, it's better to do it sitting down with the pranayamas. So you can do it sitting down or lying down, although it's advisable to begin doing it lying down.
Okay. Now this one
If
that
you
you're
get on the
doing,
floor.
of the lying down and you tense up, how long do you do the
20
mantra?
minutes. 20
For
minutes,
total?
between 20 and 30 minutes,
For the whole
both
thing?
meditations, for the whole process. So Tratak, for the whole process, including prayer, if you are doing prayer, the day you do prayer, you make it 30 minutes, you know. But 20 to 30 minutes in the mornings, 20 to 30 minutes in the evenings.
Okay.
It's really amazing. I had built the practice, and then it got discombobulated for reasons. It was amazing when I did do the practice, the positive effects, and then it became a habit. I have yet to get back to it. I'm starting up again, setting aside the time. But that 30 minutes...
Change your
is-
day, yeah.
Oh my God, it really starts it differently. And when I didn't do it, I would see how the day went. There is an amazing effect.
Yeah, it's very, very effective and very experiential. I mean, the proof of the pudding is in the trying, that it is said.
And I would feel a pulsing in the room. There's a pulsing of energy. The stillness pulses.
Yeah.
I don't know how to explain it. And it was like, wow. And you could hear the silence. You could feel the silence. It was amazing. It was just, even at the kitchen table sometimes, it's like, and it was like, well,
So-
I had an opportunity.
So these are kind of the main practices, the two techniques, and then during the days we have actions,
Oh, excuse me.
thoughts, and feelings. Now, with respect to thoughts, we don't have much time, so I'm going to give you for the moment a very simple
Simple what?
practice. Now, there are two kinds. I mean, we do many stupid things with our thoughts, but one of them is judge others. The other thing is that we create negative emotions in us. So, I'm going to just tell you, but give you not a practice. Do not judge. You know, judgmental thought takes nowhere. And one thing one has to be very clear is, who are you to judge another person?
Or yourself.
Or yourself, yeah. Well, in fact, you will stop judging others when you stop judging yourself.
Yeah.
While you judge yourself, you will keep judging others. So, but to understand how that works would be too long, too big to get into it now. So I'm going to go only in those thoughts that create negative emotions. What do we do with those thoughts that create negative emotions? And for you to understand how this works, I'm going to put a little example. Now you have to imagine yourself unimagined. We will use, could be a man or a woman, but we are going to use a woman, a girl. Imagine a 20-something year old, a young woman. So this is an event that is produces thoughts. We have not had the time to, but basically we could say events that happen outside produces thoughts in us. And the thoughts that an event produces in us, some of those thoughts are conscious thoughts, and some of those thoughts are subconscious thoughts. Or we could say there are certain subconscious structures that make possible that we have such conscious thoughts. So an event that happens outside interacts with our mind system, and we have conscious thoughts, and we could say and certain unconscious structures, well, subconscious, because it's not that they are not conscious, but they are below consciousness, subconscious structures that facilitate that thought. For example, let's put the example this event. Your boyfriend, this girl has a boyfriend, and the boyfriend said she was calling at 10. So 10 o'clock arrives and the boyfriend has not called. 11 o'clock, the boyfriend has not called. So she calls the boyfriend, the telephone is switched off.
This one?
Switched off. 1 o'clock, 12 o'clock, calls again, boyfriend is not there. Like this, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, the girl gets very anxious, finally goes to sleep because they had an appointment that night, they were going out. So suddenly this happens. That's the event. She goes to sleep. Next day she wakes up in the morning, first thing in the morning she calls and he says hello and a conversation starts. Now, in this example of this woman, this imaginary woman, she had certain conscious thoughts. The conscious thoughts she had was, my boyfriend doesn't love me. The other thought she had very persistently is the fear that my boyfriend is with another girl. The other conscious thought that appears in her mind one another time, my boyfriend is going to leave me. You say leave, or is there another? Leave me. It's going to leave me. So imagine this kind of thoughts. This particular woman, another woman may have other thoughts. Every person is different. So she has these thoughts, and all these thoughts, you know, this is pushed by love, because love is the only energy that is there. But with all these thoughts, you know, this comes out as an emotion, which is a mixture of jealousy, anger for being dismissed, you know, a mix of jealousy and anger, let's say. Let's say that the blend of thoughts create this emotion. A blend of jealousy, anger,
Fear.
frustration, yeah? Just imagine. Now, this emotion will be the energy behind the movement of the muscles, which is the behavior.
But she doesn't ask him what happened.
Yeah, well, that is what I'm trying to explain you. I'm trying to explain you how this works. So you try to understand. You imagine a woman, any woman. Imagine one woman that has those particular thoughts. Some other woman might think maybe he has had an accident, he might have had an accident, and then she might have fear of him being killed. So that would be another case, another woman. In this case, the main conscious thoughts of this woman, this particular woman, are these thoughts. Those were in this, you can imagine a woman like this, there are many. Women and men, by the way, it's not a matter of being a woman. There are many men that are very, very jealous and have those insecurities, and they are constantly thinking that they are going to lose their partner. No? Imagine this girl having these thoughts. That creates in her an emotion. And this emotion is going to drive her behavior. She calls to the boyfriend, and the conversation starts. And the conversation, obviously, where were you, she's not going to believe everything at the beginning, she might be showing her anger. That conversation is going to happen. And what is important to realize is it doesn't matter what the boyfriend was doing. The boyfriend could have been sacked that day from his job, and he didn't want to speak with anybody. He felt desperate and went to a park to walk around to try to think what he's going to do with his life. Could be that. The boyfriend, maybe his mother called that the grandmother that has Alzheimer is lost. We need your help to find her. You know where she usually goes, and when there, the telephone was left out with batteries, and he was doing that. The boyfriend might have met an old girlfriend, and they went to have coffee, and one thing led to another, and they ended up sleeping together, and it was just good for the boyfriend to realize that that was finished. So anything could have happened. Doesn't matter what the boyfriend was doing. What is for sure is that after this call, whatever you call love, your boyfriend is not going to feel very loving towards you. Your boyfriend might even think, would I not need another kind of girl? And your boyfriend might think, maybe I have to leave this girl. If you repeat this behavior enough number of times, all your thoughts come true. But not because by some magical thing they become true, because this is what naturally happens. And it doesn't matter what the boyfriend was doing. He could have been with another girl, or he could have been looking for her grandmother of Alzheimer, but you are getting near to make your thoughts real. So,
because of repetition of the patterns of behavior.
Exactly. So obviously behind these kind of thoughts there will be psychological structures of feeling of inadequacy, of insecurity, things that evolve from her childhood and the relationship with the parent. Obviously behind this production is certain subconscious structures.
And programming.
But when your thoughts, the ones you have, produce you a negative emotion, which is an emotion that contracts you, makes you angry, or makes you press your teeth, or shrinks your stomach, when your thoughts create these negative emotions, ask yourself, debate these thoughts to you, because you are going to hurt yourself. You are going to make what you are thinking true. Because your thoughts are energized by love that has transformed into anger, and you are going to make it real. So, what do you mean that your boyfriend doesn't love you. You have to debate it to yourself. What do you mean love? Because people say, oh, this person doesn't love me. What do people mean when they say you don't love me? What do people mean? That you don't bring me flowers on Friday? You mean that? You mean if I feel a warmth in my heart every time I think about you? Well, sometimes yes, sometimes no. What do people call love? What does it mean that you don't love me? And if he doesn't love you, so what? He's not the only fish in the ocean. So you have to simply, take those thoughts and make them, make them into pieces. Take all certainty, because the behavior and the emotion comes because you believe those thoughts. And then they create the emotion that creates the behavior that end up creating the circumstance. So, destroy your thoughts. What do you mean he doesn't love me? My boyfriend is with another girl. Well, if he's with another girl, that's it. I mean, why should I worry? Why that is going to be, to begin with, why that is going to be bad? Because people, we have all these patternings in our minds, which are very possessive. That if you have a relationship, it's my wife or my husband. It's not for any other use. But the best marriage is a deep friendship. That is the best of marriages, a deep friendship. That is the best you can get in a marriage, a deep, sincere, honest friendship. Now, do you get annoyed with your deep, sincere, best friend if he goes and have a nice night with a girl he met, or a boy, or if he's a she, a boy he met, or if she's a she, a girl he met? Do you get angry with your best friend for that? Yes or no?
No.
No. So why you get angry if it is your husband? You start to debate yourself. Don't take us through everything you think. You just debate those things that you are believing in your conscious mind, because you can destroy them. And if he's with another girl, does that mean that he will not be for you if you want him for you? But obviously, what is love? Why do you want to be loved? Do you love? You have to go to the thoughts that you are believing and destroy them, particularly if they are creating you a negative emotion. So if your thoughts are creating anger, or anguish, or jealousy, or you name it, you are believing something that is not true to begin with. Because, whatever this guy was doing, her thoughts has nothing to do with it. So it's things that your mind is producing due to your own structures, and they are creating this negative emotion. And with negative emotions, the only thing you do is that you act with a behavior which is energized by love perverted love. Because instead of being love, it's jealousy, and due to the interpretation the mind is giving. But then those thoughts become very powerful, because they are energized by this, and you make them real. So if you don't want to make real those fears that your thoughts produce, destroy the thoughts to begin with. Forget about the fear, go to the thoughts. Fear of what? Fear of what? Of dying? We die every night. We die every night. Every night we die.
How?
How? Because we disappear. The I that wakes up in the morning is the I
You
that...
mean a different type of dying, not the physical death. The death of the persona on a daily basis.
Yeah, well, the persona, look, the persona that woke up when
This
you were
morning.
14 years old was a different persona than
This
what it is
morning.
today.
Absolutely.
Right, so that persona died that night.
Right, that's the distinguish, because we don't die every night physically because we
Well,
stop
exactly.
breathing. So I just wanted to differentiate.
Yeah, we don't die,
We're
you know,
discussing
exactly.
the persona, and any given
The-
second we change.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes,
The
so-
persona, in reality, we are dying all the time, you know, but, you know, what can one be afraid of, really? Fear is always of the future because it's never here.
Mm.
Fear is never here now. You can be in the middle of a war and you say, I am afraid. No, you are afraid of receiving a bullet in the future. Because while you are afraid, and if you receive the bullet, you don't need to be afraid because you are already killed, you know, or whatever the case. So, you know, the only technique, when you have thoughts, and practice this technique until we meet next time, that I will give you additional techniques for thoughts. But when you have thoughts that produces you a negative emotion, look at those thoughts and test the truthfulness
Okay.
behind those thoughts. Eh?
Let's say you're that girl and you
Hmm.
have those thoughts, but you say to yourself, I don't really know what's going on. This could be true and it could not be true. So how would you approach the situation with the boyfriend?
No, look, if
It's not
I am telling, if to me it will not happen. You know, if she doesn't call, doesn't call. And I know it by experience, you know, it's not that I am guessing. You know, I'm really non-jealous at all. Never been jealous, never had those kind of... And in my case, since I was little, I didn't even need to learn it through any other way, but you know, it's a natural thing. I was born like that. So I would never have, but if you say, what would you advise this girl on how to approach the situation? Very easy. Not how to approach the situation, like if I have any situation to approach, the only situation I have to approach is my thoughts. It has nothing to do with the boyfriend. These are the thoughts, it is my thoughts that are producing me this emotion. And if the emotion is negative, if the emotion is contractive, it's the alarm that the system has to tell you that this is not true, that you have to discard these conscious thoughts, because if you continue having them, you are going to screw it up. So, that is the alarm. The problem that we human beings have, because this alarm is created, the human body responds with the stress reaction. So with the stress hormones, you know, the release of all these stress chemicals. Now, if you are in Pamplona, you know Pamplona in Spain, where they run behind the bulls?
In front of the bulls, in front.
In front, sorry. Well, if you are in Pamplona, and when they throw the first, the first firework, they open the bulls, and the bulls come out to the road, to the city, and all the young men are there with newspapers, and they start running. Well, then at that very moment, the body releases all the stress hormones, and you need them to run. But the minute you arrive to the bullfighting ring and the bulls are kept, all those hormones disappear, you know, and you get a release.
Flight or fright.
So, exactly. But the problem here is that the hormones are released and you think that this is the bull. And you screw it up because the hormones keep releasing because the bull is this is the bull. So until you don't stop believing these thoughts, you will continue having this emotion. Why, whilst you believe these thoughts, why you believe that your boyfriend doesn't love you, why you believe that your boyfriend is maybe wanting to go with another girl, why you believe that your boyfriend is going to leave you, which means that you think that all your boyfriends are going to leave you probably, because you have this thing through a relationship with your father, say. But while you believe these lies, you will have this emotion. And while you have this emotion, you will be conditioning your behavior to make this true. So what you have to do is forget about the boy. Look at the thoughts. In other words, when you have thoughts that produce you negative emotions, forget about the event. Go to the thoughts and question the thoughts. And you will find a very quick and easy way of diminishing all these negative emotions, and you will make your life better, because these negative emotions will always condition behaviors that will bring this to further and further reality, little by little. Lunchtime now.
It takes a level of awareness.
Eh?
It takes a level of awareness.
Right.
That situation on itself, like that